During my husband's funeral, my son-in-law, Nicholas, leaned close and whispered, his breath chilling my ear, "I'm going to dump that old cow in the middle of nowhere." A sinister grin spread across his face as I turned to him, stunned. "Now that the president's gone, the company is finally mine," he added, his voice laced with venom. He'd been scheming for the company presidency for years, but now his true colors were on full display. "My dear son-in-law, life doesn't work that way. You may think you've won, but your reckoning is near. The battle was just beginning. Darling, lend me your strength," I silently prayed, my eyes fixed on my husband's altar. "My name is Melissa. I'm a 55-year-old housewife, widowed after 30 years of marriage to Cole, the love of my life. We met as co-workers, grew into friends, and then partners, building a life and a family together. Our daughter, Amber, was born just a year after our wedding. Cole had been a construction worker when, at 35, he decided to chase his dream of starting a design firm. "I want to bring clients' visions to life," he'd said, his eyes sparkling with excitement. I wasn't sure we could make it, especially with Amber just a toddler, but we were a team, and I was determined to support him. Despite the challenges, the company thrived. Over 2 decades, Cole proved his talent as a leader, and I stood by his side, helping wherever I could. Then came Nicholas. My husband hired him from an affiliated company, impressed by his diligence. His eventual relationship with Amber took us by surprise, but we welcomed him into the family, trusting him as a loyal supporter of Cole's vision. That trust, as I now see, was misplaced. Even before Cole fell ill, Amber voiced concerns about Nicholas's ambition. "Mom, something feels off lately," she confided one evening, in the shower. "I can't shake this restless feeling." "What's bothering you?" I asked. "It's Nicholas," she admitted hesitantly. "He drinks a lot and says awful things. The other night, he muttered, 'That old man needs to get out of the way. I could make this company so much more profitable without him.'" Her words stung. "That's a terrible thing to say," I replied, "but maybe it's just the alcohol talking. Surely, he wouldn't betray your father." I wanted to believe Nicholas was loyal, but doubt began to take root. Then, a year ago, everything unraveled. My once healthy husband began wasting away, complaining of back pain and losing his appetite. Tests revealed the worst, an untreatable illness that left him with little time. Only Amber, Nicholas, and I knew the diagnosis. Nicholas's response was unervingly detached. "Don't worry about the company," he said with a confident smile. "I'll handle everything." On the surface, his words were reassuring, but his expression told a different story, a smugness that made my stomach churn. As my husband's condition worsened, so did Nicholas's behavior. Longtime employees reported his growing arrogance. He belittled others, undermined morale, and drove several loyal staff members to quit. "Nicholas," I approached him gently one day, hoping to bridge the growing chasm. "You're working hard, but please consider the team's well-being too." His response was a sneer. "Why don't you focus on your dying husband instead of meddling in my business?" I froze, stunned by his audacity. "This company is practically mine now," he continued, his voice dripping with contempt. "You should be grateful I've tolerated that old fool's leadership as long as I have." His words were a slap in the face, confirming the worst of my fears. Nicholas wasn't just ambitious, he was ruthless, and his toxic influence was poisoning everything Cole had built. With each passing day, Nicholas's true nature emerged, his arrogance driving away even the most loyal employees. But he underestimated me. My silence wasn't weakness, it was preparation. The battle had begun, and I was ready to protect Cole's legacy, no matter the cost. My husband's approach to business was simple yet profound, understanding clients' needs and building relationships through genuine conversations. Nicholas, however, dismissed this philosophy outright. "In this world, efficiency is everything," he said coldly. "Don't be such a jerk, I'm going to fire you." Nicholas implemented a new system of computer-based reporting, which alienated older employees who struggled with the unfamiliar technology. Rather than offering support, he berated them. "Can't you old folks even use a computer properly? You're stifling my progress. Get out of here, I don't want you working for me," he'd yell, sometimes tipping over wastebaskets and ordering them to clean up the mess. He was equally ruthless with long-term business partners. When some struggled during the recession, he cut ties without hesitation. "We're not a charity, we won't do business with you anymore," he declared, dismantling relationships my husband had painstakingly built over decades. Amber, my daughter, confided in me about the growing strain in her marriage. "Mom, he's treating me like a servant now," she said, her voice trembling. "If I push back even a little, he gets furious." "What exactly has he said?" I asked, dreading the answer. "Who would marry you if you weren't the boss's daughter?" Amber recited bitterly. "Your personality and appearance aren't my type anyway." Tears welled in her eyes as she continued. "Mom, Nicholas has changed. He's not the man I thought he was." "No," I corrected gently. "This is the real Nicholas. We were all deceived." Her sobs of frustration filled the room, and I felt an overwhelming resolve to protect her, and the company, from his corrosive influence. My husband had noticed, too, even from his sickbed. He expressed concern over Nicholas's behavior toward the staff. One evening, he summoned me to his side. "Promise me," he said weakly, "that you'll take care of this." "I promise," I vowed, squeezing his hand. Months later, despite his best efforts, my husband succumbed to his illness. His funeral was a haze of grief, my tears flowing freely as I remembered the beautiful life we'd built together. Then, as the priest delivered his sermon, Nicholas leaned in, his voice a venomous whisper. "I'm going to dump that old cow in the middle of nowhere." I froze, my blood turning to ice. When I looked at him, his face was twisted into a malicious grin. Nicholas's true nature was laid bare. With my husband gone, he believed himself untouchable, secure in his role as president. "You have no idea what's coming," I thought, clenching my fists. "Give me your strength," I whispered silently to my husband's memory, my gaze fixed on his coffin. The funeral had barely ended when a shareholders' meeting was convened. Nicholas arrived late, sauntering into the room and taking a seat at the head of the table. His smug expression faltered when he saw me sitting there, and his eyes widened in confusion. "Why, the old lady," he muttered under his breath. I stifled a laugh. The moderator began the proceedings. "The next item on the agenda is the removal of Nicholas from the board of directors." Nicholas's composure shattered. "Wait, what? What are you talking about?" he spluttered, nearly toppling his chair as he tried to stand. His flustered state drew muffled laughter from the other attendees. Unbeknownst to Nicholas, my husband had quietly transferred the majority of his shares to me years ago, giving me controlling influence over the company. I had used that authority to call this meeting, catching Nicholas completely off guard. "How can you fire me?" he demanded, his voice cracking. "I'm the president's son-in-law." I met his panicked gaze with calm resolve. "Your treatment of employees and partners has jeopardized everything this company stands for," I replied. "That is more than enough reason." Nicholas sneered, trying to regain control. "You amateurs have no idea what you're talking about." "I'm not against change," I countered, my voice steady, "but building a successful business requires respecting the people who work for you and maintaining trust with our partners." As I spoke, heads around the table began to nod in agreement. Nicholas's reign was coming to an end, and I was finally fulfilling the promise I'd made to my husband. The room fell silent as I stood my ground against Nicholas's outburst, his face contorted with rage. "Cole's ideals won't bring profit to the company," he bellowed. I met his glare with unwavering resolve. "You're not working for the company's benefit, Nicholas, you're working for your own." He blinked, startled, but quickly masked his confusion with indignation. "What are you talking about?" I held up a set of documents, my late husband's final safeguard for his legacy. "This," I said, my voice cutting through the tension, "is proof of your misdeeds. You've been misappropriating company funds for personal use, haven't you?" Gasps erupted around the table as every eye turned to Nicholas. His composure cracked, and beads of sweat formed on his forehead. How did you get that?" he stammered. "It was Cole's. He trusted me with it because he saw through you. You denied his customer-first policy, dismantled relationships, and prioritized your own greed," I said, my tone unwavering. "That's not fair. You had no right to snoop," Nicholas barked, his anger masking his growing desperation. "The company has no room for embezzlers," I replied coldly. Nicholas tried to regain his footing, forcing a smirk. "Fine, but who else could lead the company? There's no one but me." I leaned forward, locking eyes with him. "Actually, Cole asked me to take over." Nicholas's face twisted in shock. "What? You, a novice? A meddling hag like you running a business? That's absurd." He didn't know what I knew. When the company was young, I had been there, quietly supporting my husband, sitting in on meetings, and learning every detail of its operations. I had earned my husband's trust because I understood the company's heartbeat better than anyone else. When Cole transferred the majority shares to me, I once thought I'd pass them on to Nicholas. Now, that idea was inconceivable. Your time here is over, I said icily. Panic overtook him, and he dropped his arrogant facade. Please don't fire me, I'm sorry for all the disrespect. I'll return the money, every penny. I swear I'll dedicate my life to the company. I raised an eyebrow. Do you really believe that's enough? I only took the funds to start a new business, he protested. It wasn't for personal gain. A humorless laugh escaped me. Interesting. Were those foreign luxury cars, brand name handbags, and expensive jewelry for your business, or were they gifts for your mistresses? You've shown what kind of man you truly are. Nicholas's face turned pale as I delivered the final blow. You're fired. Desperation turned to threats as he played his final card. If you make me suffer, Amber will suffer too. Is that what you want? I met his threat with calm certainty. Amber has already decided to divorce you. She's likely packing her things as we speak. She's had enough of you. Nicholas's bravado crumbled. No, no. Oh, and one more thing, I added. I've reported your embezzlement to the authorities. You should prepare yourself. Nicholas was removed from the board that day and later arrested for embezzlement. Amber left him, finally free of his toxicity, and began rebuilding her life. As the new president, I've devoted myself to honoring the legacy Cole left behind. Every day is demanding, but I remain steadfast in my commitment to the employees and clients who built this company with us. Innovation is necessary, but Cole's philosophy, putting the customer first, will always guide me. At home, Amber greets me with a smile I haven't seen in years. The stress Nicholas caused has lifted, and she's rediscovering herself. She's still young, and her future is bright. I'll be by her side, watching her flourish, just as Cole would have wanted.